Uh, we're live with we're live with Roundabout Cast, episode 40. Joe, you're off the cast. Get out of here.
Lordy.
You suck. Alright, that'll wake me up. My anger for Joe. Hi, I'm your host, Willer.
I'm Bradley. I'm the guy you thought was the final boss until you beat me, and then the portal opens up, and your ally who died in Arc 3 comes back, and they're actually the final boss.
Whoa.
I'm Joe. I'm the boy.
I'm Tyler, and I'll be crinkling my wrappers today.
Yeah, so let's just start with some good free time before we move on to our
Free time.
for our good stuff, which today we'll be talking about Tower of God and Dorohedoro. What's it called, Tyler?
Dorohedoro.
Dorohedoro.
We'll talk about party
Give your
games, and then me and Joe are going to talk about Persona 5, since we finished that a while ago. But Tyler just got his Oculus Rift that he ordered, so he's pretty excited. He literally just got it.
I'm very excited for it. I got a job, so I'm an adult again, and I get to live in society.
Adults.
So to celebrate, I got the Oculus Rift S. And I'm very excited. I'm gonna play some cool games for it. Actually, the only reason I got it is to play Squadrons, the new Star Wars game that just got announced.
I'm so excited for that. Tyler and I are going to be jacking in to jack each other off. And then
It's okay at jacking in. You didn't have to say anything else.
that game looks hot. I'm really excited. That's the game I've been waiting for Oculus or VR to be the reason to play with.
If you haven't heard of it, it is Star Wars like Rogue Squadron Rebel Strike VR flight simulator.
Yeah.
Everyone
great.
Everyone seems pretty excited about that thing.
I'm very excited about it.
I am.
What else have y'all been up to these days? It's been a while since we recorded, so I'm sure something's come up.
I've been rewatching Scrubs for the first time since high school, and I love that show. It's one of my top 5 comedy shows, and I was rewatching it, and this show did in early 2000s, and there's already some humor in it that makes me go, "Yikes!"
I got a little bit of that when rewatching Community.
Yeah. There's the third episode in. There's the female doctor is complaining about the head doctor being sexist because he calls everyone, all the boys sport and all the girls sweetheart, and she's like, I don't want to be called sweetheart. And the moral of the story was you have to deal with some sexism in the workplace. Yeah, I was like, ooh,
workplace sexism. High five, bro. We're in the 2000s.
So that's what I've been doing, other than getting my ass kicked by Blaze Blue by Willer and everyone online.
Mostly everyone online, if we're taking time slots.
To add on to that bad humor, my mom has been watching MASH.
Oh yeah,
interesting.
And I'll walk through, and I'll catch snippets of it, And there was this one episode where they accidentally bomb a residential area in Korea or whatever war they're in.
I think it's Korea.
Yeah. And
that was Vietnam.
They're like, oh, we have to take responsibility for that. And there's one guy who won't sign the papers. He's like, can you prove we did it? I'm like, well, that's our bombshells. And it's everything is saying we did. And yeah, we're the only people nearby within 500 miles. So it was probably us. And he's like, well, I'm not going to cite it, blah, blah, blah. And the laugh track plays. And I'm like, people are dead. And I'm like, this is an entire generation that was raised with this comedic mindset. And I'm like, oh my God.
I didn't know anything about MASH until I watched the hour and 15-minute long video essay by a YouTuber called Lady Knight the Brave. And they just went over all of MASH. I was like, I can't believe this show existed. It's this weird comedy, but also drama that touches on the horrors of war and how stressful it was for everyone in Korea. Like that show ends with the main character having to relive this day where he killed a baby in order for them not to get caught by the Koreans. And it was like, oh my fucking god, that wasn't a widely spread American comedy.
Yeah, I'm just like, this show could have just been straight up about the drama and been fine.
Yeah.
But, oh my gosh. I was like, how are they putting the laugh track in this episode? Whose job was it this episode? Give them the day off.
Yeah, that must have been rough. So for me, I guess something. So I went to a wedding over the weekend, and it's interesting how weddings and stuff are adapting to the ongoing pandemic. I was very comfortable being around that many people, but I think one of the most interesting things is I went to my brother's, like this restaurant where my brother is like the general manager of. It's a Brazilian steakhouse, which if you've ever been to one, they walk around and they bring you the meat. That's like the standard thing. Like they cut off the meat from the husks of meat.
I see. I see what you mean.
and they will put it on your plate, right? But then they're also popular for their salad bars. So just an interesting thing that came up is like, okay, how are you guys getting around the salad bar thing? Well, they just walk around with the salad bar and like take it to your table and present you your mashed potatoes like you're a king, and that's just really interesting.
Cool.
For the wedding, a lot of masks, but then a lot of people not wearing masks. So I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? I didn't wear my mask when I was up there because I was a groomsman. So when I was like up in the front during the ceremony, I didn't wear mine, but I wore it pretty much elsewhere. But that was interesting.
Was it indoor or outdoor?
It was indoor. It was very hot that day. We went outdoor for pictures, and everyone was deeply uncomfortable. Good food there too. Bradley, you got anything going on these days?
Been abnormally productive. Done a lot of drawing and work on my website lately, which feels good.
Yeah. Bradley posted in the Parahumans
Paranormal. Yeah.
the other day.
Bradley finished his piece.
Like that's a good way to
Have
put
we
it.
talked about that?
We have not.
Yeah. I adapted the first chapter of the web serial Worm into a manga format, which was really interesting. I learned a lot about my process and how I can get faster at drawing. Because I initially started where, like I would sketch out or draw my page on paper, and then I would scan it in, like at Office Depot to be digital, and then I would draw on top of that when I got it in the computer.
Really?
And I was like, man, this would be a lot faster if I just learned to sketch it out digitally in the first place.
And then you did.
And like traditionally, I think anyone who's read the story would tell you the first chapter is the least entertaining chapter of the story. But I kind of gained an appreciation for it because when condensing a chapter of a book down to a single manga chapter, you're going to have to decide, what words and dialogue you want to cut out.
Yeah, and what kind of stuff you want to show visually and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like, there are words where if I want to abridge a paragraph for a speech bubble, I have to decide, like, okay, what words do I want to change or leave out? And I kind of gained more appreciation for the word choice where, I don't know, Taylor might say words that kind of convey information without outright saying it. Like her relationship with her father, even though she spends very little time actually talking about him. So I was like, you know what? This was a cool way to get practice drawing and learn more about my favorite book.
Additionally, Bradley also made a fan art that we're using for our first pale thumbnail, which I don't know the order. It'll probably come out before this, so if you check our channel, you'll be able to see more art from...
Yeah, a rare thumbnail that one of us actually drew the art for it rather than, like, taking official art.
Yeah, it's true. Feels good. Cool. Y'all got anything else for free talk before we move on to our first topic?
Not I.
Promise Neverland finished. I give it a solid C-.
Wait, okay, hold on. let's make that its own thing. That's a good point.
Okay.
I'm down. We can do that after Persona. Man, what a series!
Okay, yeah.
We could just roll right into Tyler's character redemption arc. We'll call this segment.
Oh, okay.
You call it a character redemption, but I don't understand because, like, have we gotten any feedback that I was wrong about the anime?
No, actually, but I feel like we might have gotten one comment about Tower of God, but I could be making it up.
I think we did.
So anyway, I think season 1 is over. It should be. It
ended like yesterday. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it ended yesterday, which is Wednesday. And the week before that, so I'm gonna go into spoilers a little bit now.
Okay, I allow it.
Are you okay? Cool. So if you've read Tower of God, like if you remember way back in the beginning, because I'm assuming if anybody's hearing about this and is caught up, there is big spoiler because I'm going to talk about season 1. In episode 11, we get the moment where Rachel pushes Bam off the platform to kill him.
Jesus.
And we finally like kind of see like a little bit of Rachel's true side. And so like I saw that episode and I'm like, nah, I gotta know. I can't leave on this cliffhanger. Like you made me sit through 10 episodes of this terrible one-dimensional character and forced me to enjoy it, forced me to like him, and then you just killed him.
How dare you? How dare you invest me in your story?
How dare you? So I read. So to compensate, I read like. I honestly I think maybe 100 chapters of Tower of God in like a week.
No, hold on. There's a quantifier to that. A Tower of God chapter is different from a manga chapter because you're reading it like a webcomic, like just scroll down and you see images view. Now, do you think they're longer chapters than usual, Tyler, or are they shorter?
I would compare them to Black Clover chapters.
Oh,
they're about just as long or longer.
Wow. Okay. Because I'm still like in the second or third chapter. Yeah, you're right. They're kind of long sometimes. So.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, they're girthier than Black Clover.
Wow.
Like I read Black Clover in like
a fart.
2 to 3 minutes sometimes, and then like I'll be on one chapter and it's like 10 minutes later and I'll be like, shit.
Oh wow. Okay. Damn. So that's a lot of reading for context then.
Some of them can be girthy, yeah. So I read like 100 chapters of that. I'm way ahead now, but I'm in essentially what's probably maybe 2016, 2017 like content. The season that would follow the original anime run, I could see where people start to like the show because it takes our main character Bam and takes the control away from him. And then I'm not forced to like him. Now it's about me as the viewer and the like reader to like try and understand how he's being used. Because he joins this organization by force because he is like an irregular. Because like it's basically an isekai. Him and Rachel are from another world where the tower is a myth. And people can enter that world, but they're called irregulars when they're forced their way into the tower. Mm-hmm. I'm not too sure. It's really damn confusing.
That's the vibe I got from the chapter I read. I feel like they touched a bit on that, maybe.
Yeah. So, there's this group called Fug.
What?
Maybe because they fugly. I don't really know if it's an acronym or not yet.
It could be a Korean thing.
It could be, yeah.
Like Bam's name is like, it's whatever his name is. It's weird.
It's really confusing because in the manga, as soon as I started reading it, he's like, "I'm the 25th Bam," and I'm like,
yeah.
What? Like, did I miss something?
What happened to the other 24 BAMs?
I was like, did I miss something? Are there other BAMs?
I assume that's a traditional Korean thing. I might be wrong. I don't know.
I think I read a little bit of spoiler about some of the story and concepts of why he maybe is called the 25th BAM. I think that's something more related to content now.
Okay, never mind. I
Yeah,
made
I don't
weird
know.
assumptions.
Because in the second arc, or after that initial like testing arc, they start calling him by a different name, which is Juvial Grace or something,
The fuck?
or Ju Grace Viole, it's some combination of those words.
Grace Juvel no Ladi.
But our character is really strong. It explains why he has potential to be strong and why people want him. Because he meets certain conditions that whether you're strong or not, people are going to try and use you in the tower. And that's because he's an outsider or an irregular. Like that condition being met, that's like it's like if you find a shiny Pokemon, you're like, oh, I'm gonna try and find a way to make this competitive.
Yeah. Okay, I'm on your wavelength now.
Yeah. So
Okay, I see.
but imagine this is a shiny in like 2004, and there's no global trade station.
Oh,
There were no hacking of shinies or anything like that.
Yeah, Game Shark doesn't exist. This got to be legal.
Gotta be legal.
But it's also Deoxys.
Oh,
Yeah.
so he's a good
So
one.
apparently that's like the level of him. So this organization is using him, and all of his friends from the first arc don't know he's alive still, and they're being held hostage by this organization by people in the friend group. So that's why he starts doing what he does. I'm like, all right, I like this motivation. Because our character is like now an anti-hero trying to figure his way out, and like meet back up with his friends. There's a lot of cool characters now that kind of revolve around this character. He's still kind of a blank slate a little bit, because it's hard to follow your main character when he's a simp, which literally is what, like, he is like. There was this moment later on where they're trying to get on this train. And Rachel's like, oh, you'll never be with me or something. And she's like, no, I have to leave you here. And he goes, no, if it can't be that way, if you're going to leave me, I can't allow that. And then he just like goes berserk. I'm like, yeah, he's just a simp. Like, that's it. He's just a white knight simp.
It's a tough climate right now for simps, in 2020.
It is.
Yeah.
I'll say 2020 Simps are the greatest tragedy of this year.
I like. So
Wait for the simp uprising later.
I like Rachel in the manga a lot more. And I saw some comments on Crunchyroll and like some forums and stuff, and it's like they really tried to humanize her in the anime to make it a little bit more dramatic. But the manga just straight up makes Rachel like a sadistic, sociopath, backstabbing bitch.
And you prefer this?
I prefer this because it's been a while since I've had an anime/manga, which I haven't read a lot of manga, but it's been a while since I've had media where I've like, I truly hate this character.
Nice.
And it's
Okay,
not
cool.
because it's a bad character. This is like George Costanza. I hate George Costanza because you're supposed to hate George Costanza.
Yeah.
I hate Rachel. And me hating Rachel is what makes me realize why people enjoy this manga, why it's gone on for so long. And I really like the character Kun because he is best friends with Bam. Bam's simping for Rachel, and Kun is literally plotting to kill her, like a straight up assassinate her.
Spicy.
In no juicy in no kind way whatsoever. Like, he doesn't tell Bam or anything. He's like, no, I'm going to kill her. Bam is my best friend. So, like, in a way, Kun is kind of simping for Bam. And so it's this weird love triangle.
Nice.
And I really want Kun to stab Rachel in the face.
So,
Nice.
Tyler, would you recommend, if someone wanted to get into this, would you recommend them watching the anime, reading the webcomic or manga, or starting with the anime and then doing the manga, or what do you think?
Yeah, great question.
If you are someone who just likes anime and you see it on Crunchyroll, it's not terrible like after the 4th or 5th episode.
Okay. So it's got some...
Which there's only 12, so like 50, I would say 50% of it's not good.
How many chapters till you hit that point?
like 70, I think.
Ooh.
70 chapters is 4 episodes of the manga? Or, sorry, of the anime?
70 chapters is like the first season.
Okay. Okay.
I think so. Let me double check, because
Well, let's shift gears for time's sake into your weird reptile show.
but yeah, I would recommend, if you enjoy the anime, like if you liked it like I did, the manga is actually really good. It's nicely paced. I like the art, and I can see throwing some people off because it's some indie artist. I think it's nice. I think it's just a refreshing change of pace.
It's cool to see his growth, I'm sure, too, as an artist.
It is. He puts a lot of personality into the characters. They're all human, and there's nothing really too bizarre about any of them, but he still makes them all feel a little bit unique in their own ways.
Nice.
And it doesn't get clogged with a lot of background characters. Like, every character he's brought up so far kind of has a purpose.
Nice.
A little bit. He had some filler characters in this last arc, but it's really cool because, like, in the second arc, where we have Juvial Grace, there's like 3 different teams, like, and they're all his friends, but he's the bad guy, and it's the other 2 teams who are trying to kill him because they don't know he's alive, but he's trying to meet up with the people who are trying to kill him. And he can't let them know that because otherwise they'll get killed by the people who are the backstabbers in their group. So I like the cast of characters. Like, he's got his own crew with him, like in One Piece. It's a good manga. It's going on like a long time. Like, I don't know how many floors in the tower there are, but apparently they're only on like floor 50. Yeah, so they've got a ways to go.
Don't
it's
tell
got
me that.
good world building for the journey.
Cool. For someone who hates character development, Tyler undergoes through the harshest character developments among the main cast of the Roundabout cast. So that's what you call dramatic irony. All right, Tyler, tell us about Dorohedoro.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, Bradley can talk about this too.
Bradley, take it away. The first 2.
Yeah. So this was a show where Tyler started watching a little bit last week, and he was raving about it, and I had a very rare moment of yeah, fuck it, I'll see what my buddy's into, and I watched the trailer, and I was like, oh my god, that was trippy. I don't know what I just looked at, but it was interesting at least. And I watched the first 2 episodes, and I kind of walked away having a similar feeling, but in a very good way. Where after the very first episode, you'll still kind of have a lot of questions as to what's going on, what's the what does the setting really look like on a big scale. But pretty much at all steps of the show, I found myself being entertained by what's going on. The action is fucking awesome, really cool colors and particle effects. I think the show does the 3D CG animation better than a lot of other ones do. And man, this setting is really fucking unique. I haven't seen stuff like this before. Tyler, what do you think?
So it takes place in a post-apocalyptic setting where it's split into 2 different dimensions. One is the Hole, which is the slums, and the favelas and stuff. And then there's the Sorcerer's World, which looks like New England. It follows a main character who is Kaimon, and his best friend Nikaido. So in the Hole, sorcerers come there to experiment on people using their magic and stuff. And somebody turned Kaimon, his head into that of a lizard. And through that, he becomes immune to sorcerer magic. So he kills sorcerers, hunting them down, and turns them into Swiss cheese with his knife skills. And then he shoves their faces in his mouth, and then a head pops out of his throat and says, "You are not the one." And then he rips them out of his throat, and then he goes, "What did the face say?" And they said, "I am not the one." And then he kills them. And that's it. That's the show.
Yeah, it's, obviously I haven't finished the first season, but the mystery that is set up in the first episode is, our main character, the lizard boy, has a human man inside of his body, and when he bites down on someone's head, this guy will come up out of the throat and look at the person and say, "You are not the one," and go back down. So the lizard guy's hypothesis, and he doesn't know this before, he doesn't know this for sure, is that the guy living inside of him is what he originally looked like. And whenever he bites down on a sorcerer, he thinks the guy is saying whether or not that sorcerer is the one who turned him into a lizard. And I'm like, what the fuck? There's a guy living inside this lizard man.
I thought that at first too. I thought there was just like some guy, like I don't know what it is still, but I was like, oh my god, this guy's entire body is just inside this lizard. Dude, it's a Netflix original. The manga was first published in 1999. It ended in 2018, so it's actually done. If you want to go pick up the entire thing, and I watched a lot of bad Netflix anime. I would say this might be one of their best ones.
Wow.
They mixed the CGI in really well with solid 2D animation. And I'm like, man, I see a lot of bad like anime episodes, like in long run stuff like Black Clover, One Piece, like where they just kind of reuse mouth assets and stuff. And it's nice to see, even if it's like 24 frames per second or something. I'm like, I don't care. That 24 frames is still effort that a lot of people haven't put in, or studios.
Yeah. And man, like, one thing I really got to talk about with this show is the bad guys, because Tyler and I kind of talked about this. I always found myself kind of equally rooting for like our main characters, the good guys and the bad guys, even though they are exclusively on opposite sides of each other. And the bad guys aren't it's not even the kind of bad guy where you can like kind of make the case where, oh, they're actually the good guys, or at least not where I got to, because they were doing bad things, but they're so charming where I was like, fuck yeah, you go, boy. Like, I really liked them and they looked really cool.
Yeah, it's like what it reminds me of is like the Persona universe, but without all the high school Japan stuff.
In what way is it like the Persona universe?
It just like the art style reminds me of it. It's really psychedelic. Everybody wears masks if you're a sorcerer. Like, that's the MO. Like, you have to wear a mask. Everybody has like partners, and like all the sorcerers have partners. Just the aesthetic, I guess. But yeah, I would say if you like Mob Psycho 100, you may like this show.
Nice. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing your recent anime with us.
Yeah, I added that one to my Netflix list to pop on whenever I've finished my Scrubs rewatch.
I don't think
it really does have the best. Go ahead.
No, I don't think it's for me, but Tower of God probably is.
Yeah. I could see that, but I was gonna say Bradley does have the best point. Is you really like every character in the show, even the bad guys, because they are all charming and witty. Willer, you would like one character in Dorohedoro. His name is Johnson.
Nice.
And I'm gonna post this in midcast chat. It is so everybody's experimented on by sorcerers, and he is a giant mutant cockroach.
Well, you can fuck right off.
I hated this character when I first saw him.
I hate him already.
It's God.
I don't want to talk about him anymore. We're moving on.
One of the doctors, he experiments on him, and he's like, "Oh, he learned a word." And he learns the word shocking. So all he does is just have these one-liner moments where he goes, shocking. And it's great.
God, fuck him. And his kind. I hate Shocking Johnson.
Oh, you deleted it.
Of course I did. All right, cool. Let's take a quick break. Next up, we have. I moved Promised Neverland here. Let's do a quick Promised Neverland post-mortem. I don't think you guys care about this show enough for us to have to duck around spoilers too badly.
Go for it.
I so care
Okay.
about the
Okay.
spoilers of Promised Neverland.
You say that, hold on, I wasn't looking at your face. And looking at your face now, I think you're lying. Are you lying to me?
I would never lie to you, Willer.
Anyways.
Well, too bad. I've got 12 things anyways.
Okay.
No, we'll be nice. We'll be nice.
No, spoil it. I spoiled some Tower of God.
Yeah.
I actually want to hear what happened in Promised Neverland.
I mean, maybe one
So-
day you'll get to see, but I hope you don't.
Okay, here's the thing with Promised Neverland. I think, and Willer, you can probably like say whatever you think is different, but to me, what happened in Promised Neverland is that when you're having a story, you kind of have a battle shonen, even a non-battle shonen, you have to have like you still have to raise the stakes a little bit at a time, and to like kind of intrigue like your readers more and more. So Promised Neverland did a really good job of starting off. They start in the farmhouse. They just have to, or the orphanage, and they have to get away from the mother.
It was a great antagonist.
It's like least quote unquote least lethal of the antagonists are people that they fought going forward.
Yeah.
So, and they move along and they fight like more dangerous things as they go on. So like they go into the forest, they fight the wild demons and run away from them. They then find their hideout, and then they have to take on like a whole other host of demons and like just some other stuff. But there comes a point where there's a time skip, and they skip over a vital portion that would have shown great progression of like their thinking methodologies and like just a really cool arc to explore, and B, develop the necessary motivation for your primary character at the very end.
I'm gonna double up on that. This is where I want to jump in. There is a single chapter where you can like feel the downfall of Promised Neverland, and the worst part is your feeling is accurate. Like your suspicion when you get to that chapter is accurate, and it's only downhill from here because
What happens?
there's a exact chapter where they skip like 6 months worth of content, and it would have
Not
been
even 2 years.
2 years worth of content maybe, and it would have been the most interesting portion for them to cover in the same way that they covered arcs 1 and 2. That manga died when Yugo died. That's how I feel. Like it.
Yeah.
And then it was just a slow death.
Very painful.
That last arc is. There's nothing good about that. Like the last two, if we want to consider 2 arcs, because there's the big political one, and then there's the like small like finale arc. They're both horrible. The political one is like, the way that gets wrapped up. It spells laziness and rushed in a way that is often not seen. Like it is rushed to the highest degree.
Yeah, which is sad because it's still like not 100, but like 70 or 60 chapters or something like that.
Yeah.
Until you get to so it's a painful rushed death, and it's really bad.
Who dies?
You don't know them. You'll care about them, but then you shouldn't care about them. You shouldn't care about anyone.
Yeah.
Remember
And-
Ray? Remember the character of Ray, Joe? Because he might as well not exist for like the second half of the series. Ray doesn't shit all.
Wait, who's Ray? Which one is he?
The dark-haired
black-haired
boy.
boy.
He was my favorite character. Well, Norman was probably my favorite, but I really liked Ray in the beginning.
Yeah, and Ray had an interesting relationship because he understood that like he kind of like had that memory thing where he understood where he came from, and like I don't know.
And then when they're out of the farm, he seems like he's gonna be the one who has to deal with the harshness of the world in a realistic way, as opposed to Emma's optimistic way. But after he leaves the farm, he's just kind of like, you know what, Emma, I'll do it for you. You're right. We'll figure it out your way. It's like you lost the only thing that made you interesting.
So what happens is in the story is there comes a point too where like you lose a devil's advocate for everything that they're doing, or at least a strong one. Like you don't like there's no one that tries to contradict.
Well-
Like a big conflict that happens in that first arc is Ray going like, we can't save everybody. We have to. We're going to have to sacrifice some peoples. We have to compromise, and ultimately they do, because they have to leave
Phil.
all the little kids behind.
Phil and gang.
Yeah,
Do all the little kids die?
I'm not. That's neither here nor there for this conversation.
yeah. It doesn't matter. But like, but then like,
I wouldn't say it that way, but okay.
yeah.
Just stop
But
caring.
there's just there's nothing there that like forces Emma to change her view, and it kind of just sucks. And like, and there's not change, but challenges her view. You know, like there's nothing there that makes her think like maybe they're right. That never happens. The only time that might have happened is in that section that gets skipped, that time skip section.
Yeah.
That would have been the one time to really explore to it, and then really kind of make us, the readers, Emma, and like her supporting cast realize Emma's right. You can do this. It's hard, but you can do this.
Or something like that.
And something like that.
I want to touch on the antagonist of the political arc. That is a
Yeah.
character that they just absolutely ruined. His supporting cast are the worst characters in the show.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they resolve the political conflict is so contrived and lazy that it's laughable. Characters just show up and they're like, "I'm the king now," and everyone in the world is like, "I guess you are, yeah." And then everyone
Like that-
claps. Anyways,
and it ruins the entire arc, and looking back on it now, because you're like, oh, that was it. That really kind of was like whatever.
yeah, because you have these mutant kids just out here slaying people, and then also you have this character who has a really interesting motive for helping out the kids, and then they do nothing with that character. It's Sonju, right?
Yeah,
it goes
like
nowhere.
that character is so interesting because he was that. And I was complaining with Willer. There's like 2 or 3 characters that have interesting motivations. There's another character, the sniper girl,
Yeah.
who has an interesting
God, that
motivation.
went nowhere.
It literally went nowhere. Like it's just, it's like the ending of this is cowardly. That's what it is. Like they go nowhere. They're just set up for no reason whatsoever, and it just kind of sucks.
Anyways, I think our assessment of having it like a low C tier, I think ends up being accurate, because I think it has a very strong like 60 to 70 chapters, but then from that point on to chapter 190 where it ends, it is consistently disappointing. The ending, there's no stakes in the end too. It's just I felt nothing those last few chapters. They're not as bad as they could be. So there's that. That's not what you want to say, though. At the end of the day,
and the thing is, like, I like got to the point where I was like, I looked at it, I was like, I'm 40 chapters away. The manga ends literally like next week, because I read it, got to the point, I was like, oh, I don't like this anymore, and stopped reading it.
Yeah,
and then I
unfortunately dragged Joe back in.
So then I caught up to it, and like I sped pretty much through it, and I was just like, I'm not missing anything in this. Like, I double checked with Willer, and it's like, nope, you haven't missed anything. There's 181 chapters, not 190. So,
right.
But yeah. But I think C tier, like all the way up to the Goldie Pond arc, is pretty good.
Yeah.
Goldie Pond is a really good, like, it's really good.
Look forward to next season. Next season's gonna be great, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 seasons. Yeah. But then after that, I got nothing for you.
Yeah. I'd be surprised if they could even make a whole 3rd season. Like, there's just literally no content.
There's a lot to cover, though. I mean, there's no good content, but there's content.
Yeah. I guess.
Anywho.
But yeah.
That's Promised Neverland postmortem.
Very sad.
Just these shonen series that falter near the end, and like this is even a shorter one than usual, so it's like you hate to see it, but it does happen.
If you want a non-battle manga that's good,
here we go.
Read Act 8.
Yeah, buddy.
That's it. Stopping. That's my plug for the day for Act 8, and that's it.
It's only like the 2nd or 3rd best running manga period right now, but no biggie.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
How good is it?
Act Age? Oh my god, Tyler. It literally has the greatest non-battle arc of all time.
There he goes.
It's
He
so
said it.
fucking good. Oh, it like I literally was like in a coffee shop reading this, and I got this quote. I was like, holy fuck.
The only reason
It's
why
so-
I didn't push for a top 5 contender in our list is because I'm not caught up, and I felt like I should probably push other stuff instead. That's
Yeah,
how much I like it.
Tyler, you should. I think after this like recent like big arc that I finished,
Tyler could wait.
you should read it.
You could wait for the anime if you want as well, because that's coming
You
out
could.
soon. But that's up to you. That's your prerogative.
I want y'all to estimate where you think the first season of the anime would end, and then I will read up to that point.
Interesting. Sure.
Interesting.
And then I will watch the anime and I'll do my comparison.
Joe, I think it would end at the train arc. At the end of the train
Oh,
arc.
I was gonna say it was gonna end at the end of the island arc.
Is that enough for a whole 12 episodes?
I think
Moving
so.
at a fast pace, maybe. I'll have to relook at it.
Yeah.
I think both Tyler and Bradley have something to enjoy there. Tyler mostly for the acting, and
Yeah.
getting to
There's-
live those kind of emotions and thoughts again might be fun for you.
Mm-hmm.
But we shouldn't linger too much. Let's move swiftly along to the next topic, and not get into a big Act Age thing, because that's coming.
Yeah.
When
Don't worry.
when I get around to it, which I always say I will, but it's gonna happen. I love it. Okay, let's talk about some party games, because it's probably a month ago now, but we got together and we played a bunch of party games, and that was a fun time.
Yeah. We had a great time.
Among those games, we played Clubhouse 51 games, Monster Prom, Billions Road, and also the board game
Treasure Island.
Treasure Island.
Yeah.
So how y'all feel about those games, guys?
Dude.
So
Like, very often, games like Mario Kart, Mario Party are touted online as, like, the friendship killer video games. And I used to feel that way until I played Billions Road.
Oh yeah.
I experienced the full range of possible human emotions while playing this game, where, things start going my way and I feel so good. I have like billions more yen than all my friends. And then, Willer's on the other end of the spectrum where he has about as much negative money as I have money. And, we're like an hour or two into the game and everyone's like, oh, well, this person's probably going to win. Willer's definitely never recovering from this. And
Definitely.
then, Willer's over in the corner of the room eating a slice of pizza. And then, like, one thing will happen where, like, oh, I get cursed with this particular monster. And then he sends all of my money over to Willer, so Willer broke even, and now I have negative money. And then now I'm all sad, and Willer's like, let's fucking go. I'm in this. So
I completely I had maybe the worst time possible playing that. I never got to experience fun when we played Billions Road together. From the first 2 turns, I started negative and then I continued negative until Bradley got me positive, in which the next turn I went back negative. So, and then I did not finish with money. Pretty much, it was a horrible time. I've never seen anyone get dicked on for so long. I really feel like that game needs more comeback mechanics, or just be nice to me, or something.
10 out of 10. Play it once during the weekend. Don't touch it for a month. That's how you play Billions Road.
It's so
It was
cool.
great.
It is so cool. My ongoing game with Joe is also trending downwards for me. It's just
Yeah.
that game fucking
I
hates
got-
me, dude.
I got a pack of beers. We can play it Friday night if you want.
I'm doing stuff with Bradley, maybe.
That's fine. All right,
Back off.
but
The game is like the truest adaptation to Monopoly I've ever experienced.
Yeah, it's a cool
Oh, dude,
evolution
yeah.
of Monopoly.
Where one
it's
person
Giga Monopoly.
one person makes a lot of money, is having a lot of fun. Then there's 2 people who are just like idly existing and just trying to like scheme to come back.
They're vibing.
And then there's the guy who only has the gray and the purple property, and he doesn't even have both of them. And he's got like a $50 bill and some white and some ones and a 5 and a get out of jail free card. So he's at least got that. But it's like crinkled a little bit, and you're playing with your really racist uncle.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he's like, you have to have a get out of jail free card that doesn't have a dent on it. But you're like, uncle, that's the only get out of jail free card that you have. And he's like, well, it doesn't work in this house then.
I'm sorry you had to go through that, Tyler. But yeah, that's a really fun game. It's not that much. Buy the Steam version if you have friends from a distance, because the Switch version's not great. Yeah. Though we played the Switch version when we were playing, because it's good for local. Great game. Let's talk about, okay. Monster Prom, we talked about on this podcast. There's a DLC, right, coming out, or like a sequel.
There's the second one coming out, Monster Camp.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We played Monster Prom, I think, with both the DLC, like the current DLC and the not DLC version.
It's the... So, Bradley, I didn't know at the time, but that literally just came out on the Switch like a week ago with everything on it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Not Bradley's problem.
It's not.
Guys, I didn't enjoy this game very much.
That's fine.
I wasn't feeling it too much. I had high hopes. Like, maybe I had too high hopes, because it seemed like a really interesting take on what a visual novel could be and making it like competitive. But I was actually surprised at how many repeated scenarios we would run into. And I also don't like how, for example, I feel like the game picks someone to pair you up with constantly. So for me, for example, it was Scott and Damien in different rounds. And it's like, oh, it doesn't matter where you're going to fucking go. You're going to run into Scott or Damien. And then chances are you're going to have to sit with them at lunch too. And like, it wasn't clear what to do with my stats, and I didn't really like any of the characters too much, and I think that might have been the biggest problem.
I think a big part of that is that we played. There's two game modes. There's a short mode and there's a long mode. In the short mode, you really don't have a lot of wiggle room with who you're trying to date in comparison. While it's long, and I realized this later, but the only way to unlock like the secret endings and the other stuff like that is to actually do the normal long mode or whatever it is.
Maybe
it's
we
the
should,
only way to
we should try the long mode next time. Then.
Like you need enough time to manipulate the hearts of the characters to get the outcome you want,
and fuck over your friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think like this is the first time I was able to play with a full party. I'm glad I got to enjoy it with y'all. And I think a big part of it is there's just a lot of silence in the room when you play the game, because everyone's trying to read what they're saying, and you want to like read out loud what's being said, but that gets so fucking tiring. And I think there just needs to. I think Willer's right. There needs to be a little bit something else there to like give you some competitive advantage. Like if you went to the store, you could buy an item that was like, you could save your spot next to somebody or in the lunchroom or something. Like something like that's a little bit more.
They could stand to do more with the items, because as far as I could tell, the items seem to be like, if you have this item while an event happens, you can progress and get like a secret thing from that event. But like that didn't feel super intuitive all the time. It'd be cooler if like, I don't know. I don't know what I would do with it. I have to think more, but.
And I think part of the charm also with the game is that you're trying to like figure out what the fuck you're supposed to be doing and like how everything works with the stats system. That's also really frustrating, because the way the stats works is like really simple, and once you realize what you need to do to get the correct answer, it becomes really easy to figure out which one you need to pick, essentially. So it's give and take. The second one's coming out. I don't think it's going to have a lot of the big differences in it. I want to play it with Bradley. Like we can do like a screen share kind of thing, Bradley, that Steam has, and we literally I just buy the game and you can play with me.
Ooh.
I just want to fuck Zoe.
Yeah, I know you do. I know
Simple
you do,
man.
bud.
All this
Simple.
conversation would just bounce off of him with one simple word.
Mm-hmm.
Zoe.
I do wish the game had a little bit more Mario Party kind of esque mechanics to it. But I think like if you're playing like one or two people, like I used to play with like my ex-girlfriend, and we would just do it as a kind of like small date night sort of things. It's kind of fun. The long game is probably too long for 4 guys to drink and play. That's not really into that whole like theatrics. That not everyone's into that theatrics and visual novel part. So
That's tricky.
yeah,
Because we would read half of it, but then half of it would be like fluff that we would go through, and
Yeah.
etc.
And then Tyler gets the one fucking conversation that lasts literally forever.
That was so
about
bizarre.
Eel trying to. But like that's the other thing about Monster Prom is that you unlock the ability to do more of those endings the more you play it. So your first time with it is very bare bones, but then as you like play it more, it unlocks more things that a chance to happen. So it's a game that like you have to actually replay a bunch of times to get everything.
Lastly, we also played 51 Clubhouse. Wow, this game. This game is value. I fell in love with this game. I'm so glad that I bought it. There's so many cool games that I learned to play because of this game. And there's just the fact that pretty much any of them that you would want to play online are online capable. And you can just play with random people. It's just great. I just wish it kept track of like your online specific wins. But aside from that, I think I would recommend this to everyone. There's going to be games here you love, and there's going to be games that you learn to love, and then there's going to be Ludo. And that's it, dog. It's
Dude,
great.
Like, it's really crazy how we would jump into a game that, you know, maybe none of us have played before, and it would have extremely simple rules, and we'd be like, okay, you know, what's the strategy here? Because most of the games on there is shit people have been playing for centuries.
Right.
Like, you know, like how do we, like how do you dominate this game? And I remember, like, Willer jumped into sevens, and we learned the rules. And then once he started like theory crafting strategies and stuff and actually dominating people, we're like, it felt like we were in a fucking anime where the protagonist has to jump into a game he hasn't played and like
And learn
figure
it.
all the shit out for the game. I don't know. It was just really fun.
I played that online after. It's like it's really tense with people that also know the strats, and then you're trying to like force each other to bend and like give in. Sevens
Man.
is great. I super recommend it. I highly recommend Mahjong for everyone. Like, if this is a great learning tool for like a very fun super poker style game, which is Mahjong.
I was laying on Willer's couch. It's like, all right, I'm going to try Mahjong out. And about like 20 or 30 minutes into it, I was like, Willer, I feel like I can see the universe playing this game. Like, there's
definitely there's a steep learning curve. We were very tired and inebriated, and we tried learning Mahjong, and it, like, Tyler and Bradley's frustrations and small victories were fantastic.
I think a big part of my Mahjong deal is there was like one of the key rules of the game I didn't know where I kept looking at one of the hands I was going for, and I was like, I have the hand. Why does it say I don't have the hand?
Yeah. It was the base rule where you have to like have four triples and one pair for most hands.
Dots and boxes though.
Dots and boxes surprising. What was that one with the rabbit? Hair and
the wolves and the rabbit.
Which was really cool initially. It's a solved game, but like when we first played it, we're like, all right, what's going on here? Like, and then there's the super innovative tank multiplayer game, which I think maybe 2% of the install base will ever get to see the power of this game in motion. Hiccuping. Maybe 2% is even high. Basically, you need 4 switches to fully enjoy this game. What you do is you're controlling tanks and shooting, and you have like a shoot and a lob shot, and you can move around like a tank. But there's a series of 10 levels, and you get to arrange your switches in a way that lets you tackle the levels in different way. So it combines like you guys game designing as well as like the innate layout of that level for you to figure out the most optimal strategy to do this. And it was really fun. Tyler came up with some really creative stuff while we were playing. That game was
Creative
great.
juice.
Yeah.
Creative juices get the tanks going.
Creative juice.
It was great because like we would look at this like, oh my god, this is impossible, and then like Tyler and I would be like, wait a minute, and we would pick up one of the screens and rotate it 180 degrees.
Like,
And then it would just...
That's another I could see the universe style game.
Yeah. Also had slot car races. Slot car races were
Pretty
like
cute.
a really fun and cute game.
Slot car races is the slot car races from Mario Party, just remade.
Yeah.
But you can make your own track.
Mm-hmm. It was a lot of fun.
I also, if you pick this up, I recommend Presidents, Mancala, Backgammon. Those are all pretty good.
Presidents is so good.
Can't go wrong with
Yeah.
chess. I've been learning shogi, and that's like shogi is chess too. And I can't believe they made chess 2 and like they went so hard with it. But here it is.
Y'all, I can't like. Do y'all remember that baller ass play Tyler had in Presidents?
Oh
At the very end, we we all like stood up and it was like that. It was like monkeys in A Space Odyssey, like throwing stuff on the ground and like throwing it in the air.
I think the word buck wild suits us well in that moment. We fucking snapped.
Yeah.
Tyler also got like one of the most impressive hands I've ever seen someone win with. That might have been Joe, but like Tyler had this super impressive win in Mahjong the first time he played, and I was like, wow, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Still don't know what I did. It's so I used to play Mahjong all the time on Windows 98, and I just like I couldn't read back then because I was like 3, and all I would do is just try and match the pictures up. And I'm pretty sure like the only time I ever won was like when I had like 4 blank tiles, some dragons, and then like all like waves or something. And I was like, hey, I did it. I won.
Basically a royal flush.
And that's how I played Mahjong.
There's also
Not
some
too
like
far.
there's some really hidden gems. Like there's Mahjong Solitaire that has like 50 different solitaire puzzles that you can get up to 3-star ratings in.
Cool.
You could just like play 20 hours of that if you want. There's also like a Super Tetris where you're moving around these triangles. It's like it's more like Super Puyo Puyo. And you have to make shapes with your colors, and depending on your shape, you get different points. Shit's wild. Anyways, that is our party game.
Well, we also play Treasure Island.
Oh yeah, Treasure Island. We talked about this on the podcast once upon a time, I think.
Nah.
Nah, maybe not.
No, we didn't.
Treasure Island was a really fun board game that is very different from other board games that I've played.
So this game is a asymmetrical like 4v1, then that 4 is actually versing each other kind of game. Where
it's a free for all.
Basically one person takes up the role of Long John Silver and on a little secret map puts down a dot where they've hidden their treasure on this big like map. And then the 4 players take turns trying to find the treasure, and Long John puts out clues and draws those clues on the map to direct and misdirect these treasure hunters on where the treasure is. And the first person to find the treasure wins the whole game. Really simple concept, really easy to pick up and learn. It's one of my favorite party game, like one of my favorite board games I've ever played. I'm really upset that my board game group was like, "Oh, this is all right." I'm like, y'all are literally doing a treasure hunt here in the room, like talking to each other, and it's so good. And I really love this game. I think it was really fun.
A really interesting part I want to touch on is like the kind of problem solving you have to make in this game is very different from anything you've ever really had to do before. Like the hints that you get and the way that you like mark your map to like cancel out where it can't be, and eventually you have to figure out where it is from all the clues you have and trying to figure out if Long John Silver's lying. It's just a really unique experience. I think Bradley won, right? Like last second. We all realized where it was.
It was Tyler, because Tyler has the ability to like search anywhere, which you did too, but you never used it.
That really sucks.
It was really great because I was like, "Hey Bradley, do you know where the treasure is?" He's like, "No, absolutely not." And then 5 seconds later, he's like, "Oh God, I know where it is."
I know, right?
It was great. It's fantastic. I highly recommend you picking this up if you just like having board game nights in general.
Indeed.
Except if you do pick it up, you need to find some better expo markers because the ones you get are very light. There is a flip side of that board that's a lot darker. It's easier to see. But like that front side where it's all bright and colorful is so pretty to look at. It's a shame that you can't use it.
It's a good thing we didn't realize there was a flip side until after we finished. That was nice. Okay, that's all the party games, and I guess we could just roll into the Persona talk that will wrap up this episode. Not to spend too much time on this, but I finished Persona 5 Royal recently. Joe finished it ahead of time. Like, you were ahead of me by like a month or something on that game.
Yeah. Well, you did Final Fantasy 7 first. That's the thing.
Yes, I did. But I mean, you finished both of those by the time that I finished both of them, so
yeah,
speedy boy. Wow, that was easily like the Royale portion of Persona 5 is the best Persona content out of any of the Persona games for me. Which, with that being said, like, if you're on the fence about getting Persona 5 because, as Reddit lied to you, oh, there's not many differences, I can't believe how many times I heard that rhetoric, which, like, it should have just been a DLC. This could not have been a DLC. There is so much content, but also it changes so much with the base game. It very much meets its new price range, I think.
And artistically, because I was thinking about this, the plot of Persona 5 Royal reflects what you, as a person who has played Persona 5 and has repurchased the game, it reflects perfectly why you bought the game and what's happening to the characters in there.
Shit, that's so cool. Yeah, on a meta level, Persona 5 really delivers on your rebuying experience if you did. At the same time, I don't think anyone should play Persona 5 normal. Everyone should go straight to Royal. It is just...
Agreed.
It's like a 5 out of 5 that becomes a 5.5 out of 5.
Yeah, it's nuts. And like if you're worried like, oh, I want to see what the original ending of Persona 5 is, it's still there.
Yeah, you still can get it. You just have to make different choices.
Yeah. But that last bit of content is a great kind of just like thought of like freedom versus desire and happiness and all this other kind of what's going on under there.
Merges really well with the themes. Every character gets enhanced by it in some way. I feel like the last villain is so good. He's one of my favorite villains like I've experienced in a while. Like definitely the villain of 2020 for me right now is that character. Because I straight up could not argue with his stance. As much as the Phantom Thieves will make you think that you should be arguing it, if you take the bad end, there's a couple of points in this game, I guess, where you can get the bad end. And I don't know if they're all going to lead you to the same bad end. But the bad end that I got made me it's like the best bad ending I've gotten in anything outside, like, very specific series that are all about, like, bunch of multiple endings. Like, this bad ending made me feel like this is the way things should be. Everyone is so happy. Everyone, like, the life just goes on. There is no evil twist to it. It's just like, I did everything I said I would, and you're all super happy. And the main character realizes that, like, things aren't as they originally should be, but then he just turns around and goes on to have an amazing fun time with his friends. So it's like, why am I fighting you again? It's really harsh, having to fight that villain. He's super charismatic, really good final bosses too. So good. So much new content. Goro Akechi is now the best character in that game. Who would have known?
God. Oh my god. Akechi in the Royale content was just like, oh my boy.
Who would have thought? Joe used to call Akechi the C word. Like very harsh mean things Joe would say about Akechi. And now he's like, my boy. How the turntables.
And the additional girl, Yoshizawa.
Yeah.
The one negative I have for Persona 5R is that I feel like Yoshizawa, like throughout the story, is a little bit like shoehorned into certain sections, and things are made to like introduce you to her.
Especially the first time you meet her, and it's like, hey,
Yeah.
Yoshizawa, you have powers now. She's like, oh, that's cool. Anyways, I'm gonna go do my gymnastics. It's like, your life has changed forever. What do you mean? Like, I get you
And,
not
like,
joining us, but you shouldn't just be so nonchalant about this. It was really weird.
And like she shows up in the beginning of Persona 5. This isn't a big spoiler, but it happens in media res. Like you're going through one of the dungeons that happens like late game, and she shows up and like helps save you from like a battle, and then she just leaves. And it just kind of feels like, I mean, sure, you gotta entice us with this character, but it just doesn't feel good. I don't like it. It felt like it could have been better in some form or aspect.
Yeah. But that character herself is great. I really like her.
Yeah. Once you get to that overhyped content,
overhyped for sure. Because the fan base is toxic about their waifus. It's actually the worst part about Persona. Sometimes is the fan base, because like they don't really care about discussion. They're just like, haha, fuck Morgana and fuck Kasumi, but for other reasons, like for another way to fuck her.
But like it was really funny because I was going through this. I'm like, why the fuck is the Royale stuff at the very end? And you just didn't like space things out more, and you didn't put it into the middle part. And then we get to the end, and the plot shows up. I was like, oh, this 100% makes sense. This has to be at the end, not only for story purposes, but that artistic purpose of why you buy Persona again.
Yeah,
it's really, really good.
I'm still playing it on and off. I definitely want to do all the side content. There's a lot of side content. Like, the Thieves' Den might be my favorite new edition. Like, that is the feature where it's like, hey, do you love Persona and all of the things in a Persona game? Here's a feature that's going to reward you greatly for exploring everything. And the conversations you get in the Thieves' Den, especially after you beat the game, are so good. They enhance the character so much. And you can only get that content by going in the Thieves' Den and playing around in it. And there's so many new like lines of dialogue. It's insane that they added so many. So good. The one weakness remains from Persona, and that Persona writing is like a shotgun that doesn't go very far. It's very breadth versus depth, where they will touch on topics but not really explore them as much as I would like them to. For example, like in Persona 5, there are party members who really should not get along, but the game doesn't want to explore that. It just wants the party harmony, aside from the one chapter where they don't. And it just feels like a really missed opportunity. And everything that they go into, it's like it also goes with like the characters continuously reinforcing the themes. Like when you're in a palace in a Persona game, the characters are just like, man, this person fucking sucks. I can't believe it. And they're repeated like 100 times as you go through the palace. It's like, I get it. Like, I wish you could show me a more nuanced take. But
which happens at the end with that palace.
The end definitely has a more nuanced take, thankfully. Yeah, that's why it's by far the best written content. It still has some of the Persona writing flaws. But overall, I think I like Persona writing. It's some of the best overall stories in gaming.
Yeah.
It's just when it comes to like the little nitty gritty character stuff, I think a lot of other things do it better. But when it comes to constructing an overall epic journey, like I don't know if anything really does it as well as Persona.
Yeah. Willard said like when you finish a Persona game, there's like a hole in your heart. And like he's right. Like you get to the end and like the ending you're saying goodbye to everyone and you're just kind of like you're sitting there like, I've literally done. Like, I don't get to, like, run around Shibuya anymore. I don't get to, like, go and try to fucking play the arcade games or hit the baseballs. It's, like, it's all gone.
New Game Plus, baby!
The New Game Plus is there. But, like, you'll never experience, like, a Persona game the first time around, like, ever again.
I genuinely got depressed immediately when I got to that credit. Like, I felt...
Yeah.
And I played through this slowly, but it was such like a nice comforting blanket for like a month or two there, maybe more. Maybe it was like a 3-month span.
Yeah,
and it was as soon as I hit that, yeah, definitely. As soon as I hit that credits, I was like, God damn it, what is life now?
Yeah, it was like, and I went faster than Willard for sure, but I didn't like speed run through the game.
No, definitely not. You went like at a good pace.
Yeah, I definitely had like late nights where I stayed up and played. Like I literally like. It's so funny because I was sitting here like I'm not gonna get Persona, and then like a week before like my classes ended, I'm like, fuck, and I bought it.
I can't believe you almost didn't like. This is so worth it. I was surprised.
It was 100.
Yeah.
My big thing was I didn't finish Persona 5, and I'm so happy that I just dropped playing Persona 5 and just decided to play Persona 5R all the way to the end.
Yeah.
It was great. It was 150 hours maybe of time played, and like I was like, yeah, everything's worth it. I do wish, like Willard said, there was some nuance between some character relationships, but I think that would require the game being much longer and trying to like fit all those pieces back together. And the game's already long enough.
It stretches everywhere too, because then you have EY, and they're like, EY is your weird gun dealer. Oh, but he's not selling real guns, except he kind of is to the Yakuza. We're not going to really touch about it. We're going to dance around it. And then you have, like, Kawakami. Like, we could explore, like, more of the moral implications about your relationship together. But we're going to kind of skirt around it. Haha, funny made. That's kind of, like, they get into these weird topics about society, but they don't really commit. And that's just kind of... Yeah, they don't commit all the way.
It does feel like a more of like a. I told Willard this once, where like a small hypothesis I have is that like the writers wrote every section individually with the grand idea in mind, and then put them together, because things are kind of like they stop. Like someone wrote all the characters' sides, and then someone wrote the main story sides, and all this other stuff. Like they don't.
That gives the feeling that it's not cohesive, and I wouldn't say.
But it is cohesive, but they just kind of like just.
That's how every TV show is written, so it's like I don't think there's much to read into it.
Yeah, but Futaba was the first palace.
Definitely, big
news. Like.
Anywho, if you have a PlayStation, you need to buy this game. You're gonna love it. Everyone loves it. Persona's great. Also, buy Persona 4 on Steam. It's out. Go do it. It's great. Can't wait for 3. I hope 3 gets a remake. It is the most deserving.
Go buy a PS Vita. Get Persona 3.
No,
Persona 3's on.
The 4 was on the Vita, but the Vita is dead now. Like there's.
Why would you ever make? Who made games on the Vita?
I don't know, but Persona Golden was in the Vita prison for years, and then they're like, "Wait, we put this on a bigger console and it sold well." Fuck you, Alice.
If you made games on the Vita, y'all live in La Vida Loca.
You know what? Podcast over.